legends, and what do you even say? How do you even do this? How do you talk about one of the best cards of all time? We broke into an argument on the live stream about just how good this card was. I'm talking UFC 217 levels of good. I'm talking the UFC finally makes it back to England after a global shutdown. This might be easily one of the top 10 or top 5 greatest cards of all time. How do you even wrap this up, right, in 10 minutes? How do you put this in a package without an hour to do it? I don't even know where to begin with a card like this. If you didn't watch this card, what am I saying? You did. You did watch this card. Why are you even watching this? Put UFC Tampa on again. When you go to work today or tomorrow, I don't care what your job is. You go to the boardroom, right, where that TV is in there to do the presentations, and you put on UFC Tampa on repeat, all right? If you work on a building site, bring your bloody laptop to work. Put on UFC Tampa, attach a Bluetooth speaker, and just make everyone on the building site watch it. When we go hard for MMA and we try and get our friends and our family to understand what makes it the best sport in the world, this is one of those nights, boys. Don't put on the prelims. Don't put on the prelims because there were two fights. There were two fights that we don't talk about on the prelims. But just the main card. And everyone in your life will instantly understand why this is the best sport. Like cricket's 5 days and there's a bloody draw. Football, AFL, mate, you know, don't touch him below the knees or above the elbow, and every single time anyone touches the ball, an umpire blows a whistle. There's 1,000 bloody rules that are constantly changing every week. No one can understand them. Soccer, don't even get me started on soccer. That just breeds Californian voters. The voting base in California. Soccer breeds that kind of person. If you're a father, take your son, put him on a chair, ratchet him to that chair using car clamps, ratchet him down, and force him to watch it. Make him watch UFC Tampa. Make it that thing, you know that thing that your kids always want to watch? It's the same thing on again and again and again. That is now UFC Tampa, all right? Not Finding Bloody Nemo, mate. If your wife is pregnant, yeah, grab her phone because she doesn't need it anymore. She's pregnant now. And put on UFC Tampa and duct tape it around her pregnant belly and play it on repeat, okay? This card was amazing. Amazing. Let's talk about some of the finer points. Sean Woodson is a freak. A freak on the feet, a freak in general. He's the end man. Don't make eye contact with Sean Woodson. He will put you away. Sean Woodson is the definition of you don't need power. You need shot selection. That is Sean. He defines good shot selection. And it's so beautiful to watch. The way that he can create the range with that lanky ass bodies of him, his Spider-esque length. It's insane. It's very good. And his defensive grappling is really good as well. And because of his lankiness, when you take him down, he can always put a foot or a hand on the ground or place a hand or a foot right on the hip as it needs to be and create the space, create the scramble, because he's just got so much room to work with. Sean Woodson, if he can just up the skill just a little bit more skill, a little bit more power, he can seriously go very, very, very far in the division. So good on Sean Woodson. But nice. What's the next thing that I wanted to talk about? For the sake of brevity, let me finish off this 3 old men at the same time. Classic. What does this say? Catholic summer camp? I'm kidding. Let us continue. Michael Johnson, Dustin Jacoby, and Cub Swanson. Let's talk about these 3 old men at the same time. I picked against all 3 of you, and I'm sorry. And I did it because you're old. And I believe that I am unconsciously raging at my own aging process. Rage at the dying light, boys. I don't like how old I am. I'm in denial of my own age, and I took it out on you 3. And you 3, look, honestly, because it's a young man sport, okay? And the old men just went in there and looked at those young opponents of theirs like they were just a pair of unused socks and said, screw it, right? Johnson, Jacoby, and Cub Swanson, beautiful. Beautiful. All of them had that old man delusion that I love as well at the end of all their fights. You know, that title run starts now energy. You know, like, no, Unk, sit down. It doesn't start now. The title, she's too young for you. But you've done great. You've had a great night out, and I've bloody loved it, mate. Out of all the Unks, I do kind of hope that it was Cub Swanson that retires. He's taken a lot of damage, yeah? And that was such a beautiful knockout. It was so clean and crisp. Very few MMA careers get to end on a high, and it doesn't get better than that, especially on what could go down as one of the best cards we have ever seen. Like, it doesn't get better than that. You might as well chuck a retirement on it as well. And in his post-fight speech, he said that his wife wanted him to retire. And to me, that's like, mate, that's your number two. You know what I mean? That's the woman who's raising your kids while you're away in fight camp. She's helping you prepare meals while you're weight cutting. She's going to be helping you out of the bath when you're 75, and that CTE has undoubtedly set in hard. And if she says your time's up, mate. Your time's up. You know, you got a great KO. Your stash looks great. Your wife looks great. She says you're done. Listen to her, Cub. You're done. And that would have been the perfect time to play a Cub Swanson retirement package and send him off. What is going on with the UFC's retirement packages lately? We saw one for Jack Shaw, for God's sake. Next one that I wanted to talk about was the white Israel Adesanya. I don't see the resemblance at all. All of MMA seems to think that he looks like a white albino Izzy Adesanya. I don't get it. I don't get it. But as for his fighting style, as for the fight itself, it was fine, but he's not the next big thing. If you are the next big thing, if you are the next prospect to hype on, you know what I mean? If you're going to be the next Peyton Talbot, we need to see one of those classic awesome performances. You know, we need to see one of those Sean O'Malley on a come-up performances. Even Israel Adesanya on the come-up. We need to see performances like that. You should have finished the kebab shop owner. You know, Tokos, he was fighting like the fully sick bruv they grabbed out of the food truck out the front, you know, while UFC Tampa was going on. They're like, we need someone to fight. And Habibi was like, hold my falafel, I'm fucking getting in there, mate. That's what it looked like. And Navajo, you should have put someone away like that. Very easy. And it looked like you wanted to put him away, but you didn't have the power or the skill to do it. That's just my personal takeaway from Navajo Sterling. It's, if you are going to be that next big thing, plenty of the next big things before you have performed and stepped up to that moment when they should have slept a kebab shop owner. You did not do that on last night's card. So, and I guess also considering how great the entire card was, seeing Navajo Sterling not being able to put someone away sort of is the downer moment of the card, which is just unfortunate for him, because if this was a regular Apex card, that fight would have been one of the highlights, wouldn't it? Let's get onto it. Let's talk about the main event, okay? This needed to be good. To make it one of the greatest cards of all time, if not the greatest card of all time, the main event needs to be good. It needs to cap off the card beautifully. Because in MMA, especially in the UFC, we've had this before. You know, like UFC 217, the choke from GSP where Bisping doesn't tap, Bisping goes out cold, GSP comes back, it caps off the card beautifully. UFC London, Aspinall wins it. UFC Paris, Garn wins it. UFC 300, we get the Pereira meme on Jamal Hill. We get a talking point from Jamal Hill that Jamal Hill will just never let it go forever. The best cards of all time have the perfect cap off, and we get lucky that way in MMA. We're spoiled. This potentially GOAT card ended with a mum who looks like it's her job to pass around the orange slices at lunch. You know, she called off the fight that was deciding the future of maybe the most stacked division in the UFC. I'm not kidding here, right? You've got Bilal Muhammad, you've got Shavkat, you've got Leon, you've got Usman, you've got Buckley, you've got Colby, you've got JDM. All these names are right there at welterweight. Just anyone can take it. After a year where Marlon Chito Vera, gets a title shot. Izzy off no wins, gets a title shot. Khalil Roundtree off a drug suspension, gets a title shot. Stipe Miocic off no wins in 4 years, gets a title shot. After anyone but Magomed Ankalaev can get a title shot. After that year, do not tell me in the comments that this fight did not have title implications, right? Do not even start with me on that. So you have got welterweight, maybe the most stacked division. I mean, people say it's bantamweight, but what do we got at bantamweight right now? We've got bloody Umar and Marab. That's really it at bantamweight right now. Yeah, like welterweight is where it is at. And we have got the fight happening on the card happening. It's all happening right now, especially after that lackluster Shavkat and Ian Gary fight. This is it. We were on, Buckley was doing it, but there was blood, and Colby, he was fighting back. And Buckley, sometimes he was able to fight off Colby's takedowns. He was looking really good, but then sometimes he was getting stuck underneath Colby's takedowns, and Colby was able to get on top. And, you know, he wasn't doing a lot of damage, but he was certainly working it. The fight was going on, and Colby had his moments. And then Mum comes in the cage, makes an icky face at a cut, and it's all over. Just like that, it's all over. It's all over. Mum's seen enough. And I get it. I get it. But protect the fighters at all times is such an oxymoron when we have moments like this. In a sport that is quite literally scored on damage. The point of the sport is to damage. And then the health and safety of the fighters being the top priority at all times. Do you see the conflict that this causes? You have a sport based around that exists for damage, and the health and safety of the fighters is the top priority at all times. This is going to clash. And this is super nuanced. This is super nuanced. Everyone's got their own opinion on it. So I'll just give my own personal take. Just mine. You can have yours. It's all good. This is the argument here. This is my personal take. Fuck him. Fuck him. Fuck him. This is what they signed up for. This is why we spend so much of our time watching, why we spend our money on it. They knew the risks when they signed up for this sport. Imagine Colby Covington's life and his career if he had gone on and Buckley did fade. And if Colby really wanted out of that fight, he could have Vicente Luque'd. He could have rolled onto his side, covered up, waited for the ref to stop the fight. Anthony Smith does it every fortnight in the cage. You cannot have the most violent sport in the world with one of the best fight nights that we have ever had, topped off by a do or die fight in the most competitive division in that competitive sport, while we have one of the most controversial fighters that we have ever seen in there, Colby Covington, on top, being cornered by the GOAT of the sport, Chael Sonnen. You cannot have all of that being stopped by a mum who got ickied out at the blood. You can't have that. You cannot have that. That is shameful to see at the end of a phenomenal fight night card. They're my takeaways. UFC Tampa, bloody amazing night. Well done, Buckley. Well done, Colby. I hate him, but well done, Colby. You actually came to fight last night, and it was brilliant to see. What's next for Buckley? What's next for Colby? What's next for Manel Kape? That's everything that we're going to be talking about this week. We have got nothing but weeks ahead of us to talk about it all. I'm still going to be making an MMA video every single day of the week. Still going to be going live 3 times a week, even though we're done with the UFC for the year. There's still plenty to talk about. There's live tier lists to do. There's conversational takes. We're going to be doing some collabs with some other YouTube creators over the break. So if you want to see all of that, hit that subscribe button down there. Let me know about the stoppage down there in the comments. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Do you think a fight should go on based on the gravity of the fight? Let me know about all of that down there in the comments. You guys have yourselves a great day. Enjoy watching back UFC Tampa 10 times in a row. And until then, I will see you all in the next video.